to your Greeley-Evans School Board meeting. It's Monday, August 28th. This meeting will now come to order. Will you join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Ms. Crane.
Mr. DeWitt?
Present.
Mr. Hall?
Present.
Mr. Hafley?
Present.
Mr. Lydiak?
Present.
Dr. Richard?
Present.
Ms. Pappas?
Present.
Ms. Solis?
Present.
7 members present.
Thank you, ma'am. Usually, the board president takes advantage of the Board of Education president announcements slot to mention specific items that are in the news or special activities going on in the district. And I just kind of want to be a teaser instead and say that the superintendent of schools has got a special announcement that she's going to offer during her presentation, during her discussion, which is cause for celebration. It's some news we haven't had in the city of Greeley and Evans for some time, many years. So now you have to stay exactly where you are so that you can find out exactly what that secret information is. So I hope that will be sufficient to keep you in place. The next item is the hearing of persons desiring to speak before the Board of Education. And normally we invite folks to come in within a relatively short period of time, and we put about a 3-minute limit on your enthusiasm. And we do have a number of speakers that we are happy to hear from tonight, so we'll extend a little bit the amount of time we normally make available for this. The board, bless you, the board generally doesn't interact with presentations and discussions. We're here to listen to comments to the board, and so we'll play that out this evening. And I'll say for the record that all of our speakers are Greeley-Evans residents. And I will just begin by inviting Dr. Tobias Guzman from the University of Northern Colorado to join us. Welcome, Dr. Guzman.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I am here representing the citizens of Greeley, as well as I have a daughter who is at Greeley West, and my wife also works in the district. Having a well-educated citizenry is essential to our local and state economy. In a profession as large as education, our investment in public school education and its teachers, support staff, and service providers is paltry. A 2016 study from the National Center for Education Statistics indicates the U.S. trails behind when compared to our international peers. Can this be so? Yes, and as we dig deeper into our very own community, we see disparities compared to other school districts in the state. For a while now, our very own community has made it very clear an increase to property taxes to further advance our Greeley-Evans School District 6 would not be supported. In 2009, I witnessed this, and in 2016, I witnessed this. Even though the purpose and intent of the ballot measure was to help our schools be successful, the public did not trust how the district would spend its money. Fast forward to the present, and the community has seen an incredible difference. This began in 2016. One of the first steps conducted by current district leadership was to embark on an assessment of administrative and operational costs. This process led leadership to redirect resources to key educational pressure points. These actions and appropriate measures garnered trust, which is a prerequisite to the ballot initiative issue. I see a district that is capable of standing up to these opportunities that we see within our district, tackling each issue with diligence, concentration, and tenacity. After being skeptical of the district years ago, I see a positive trajectory in the overall leadership, student achievement, and instructional coherence, while embracing an experienced teaching staff who have a greater expectation of their students. To my colleagues in the room and the School District 6 Board of Education, we are confronted with a difficult reality. School District 6 needs our support to prepare our youth for the many skills we desire as employers and the character we want in future citizens of our community. The root of this issue is youth and schools. Therefore, it is my belief we need to place trust in the process and school district. The quality of life of our community is dependent on the education of our youth. I urge you and support you in the 2017 ballot issue. Thank you.
Dr. Guzman, thank you very much. The next presenter is Dr. Sherry Gerner. University Schools. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Pilch and Board of Education members. Since Dr. Pilch's arrival as Superintendent of Schools, she and her staff have worked tirelessly to assure that charter schools are included and represented in discussions and decisions that impact all students in District 6. University Schools sincerely appreciates the efforts of Dr. Pilch and the support the Board of Education has given us. All schools, including University, will benefit greatly from a mill levy override. We would use the funding for safety and security, transportation, technology, and reduction of student fees, as well as the ability to update curriculum resources and materials. The University Board of Governors at their last meeting had a thorough discussion regarding the mill levy override and is supportive of placing this on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Jennifer Suntich. This may be the first time I've pronounced your last name. Do you want to have a moment for correction?
It's Sunic, but I answer to Suntich all the time.
Well, I just want to say it's spelled, okay, thank you.
I know, that is
Well,
how it's
welcome.
spelled. I know.
I do apologize.
That's all right. Hello, my name is Jennifer Sunic, and as some of you have heard me say, I'm a consumer of education in the area. I have a son in 5th grade at McCullough, a son in 8th grade at Winograd, a daughter who is a sophomore in the IB program at Greeley-West High School, and a son who is a senior in the business finance program at the University of Wyoming. I attended the Citizens Academy last year and was so excited to tour the district and see so many good and interesting ways that our students are being educated and cared for. I've been working on the Mill Levy Override Campaign Committee to offer my input on tweaking the Mill Levy Override package before you from last year's version, and am now helping to coordinate the House parties that will begin next week pending your decision. I'm honored to say a few words to encourage your approval of putting the MLO on the ballot again this fall. First and foremost, I think that our kids and our community need this financial support for our education system to be able to provide the best educational environment possible and to compete with the surrounding communities and the rest of our state in achievement, employment, and community support. I appreciate your consideration to make this truly a community investment in our young people by including the charter schools, even though we are not a charter family. I believe that the time is right for this MLO in our community because the understanding has grown of what the MLO is and why it is needed, and has also grown, and our community has also grown in trust of our district in no small part because of the hard work that you all and many others have done making cuts, prioritizing funding, and clearly identifying where funding falls short. Some of the ways you're passing the MLO will directly and positively impact my family is through the increased access to technology and programs that will help my kids be prepared for learning and working in today's world, through the repair and replacement of school roofs so they don't leak during heavy rains, which we seem to be having a lot of lately, by improving the security of my kids through installation of cameras and security doors, through higher retention of quality support staff, through the ability to hire and retain more bus drivers to not only get other students to and from school, but to support the co-curricular field trips and athletics that my kids participate in, through the establishment of more internships to give my kids work experience and a better understanding of the goals they are working towards. And I also see the MLO as an investment that has real returns in the economic development of our community by helping my husband attract and retain quality employees and my home maintain its value. Thank you for letting me take a few minutes of your time to encourage your passing of the mill levy override for the ballot this fall.
Jennifer, thank you. Next speaker is Julie Hill. Among other things, Julie, you're involved in the Success Foundation.
Yes. Yes, I also appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all tonight. I am a member of the community. I'm also employee of the Success Foundation serving Greeley-Evans schools, but most importantly, I'm the mother of 2 District 6 students. I believe our schools, our teachers, and our students need and deserve more resources. And I encourage the Board of Education to take the next step in making that happen by putting the mill levy override on our upcoming ballot. My husband and I are very happy with the education our children are receiving in District 6, and we have a lot to be proud of. However, I don't think we can keep asking our staff, teachers, and students to do more with less. Although improvements are being made, we are always going to be behind other districts that provide more funding to their students. I'm tired of hearing about other districts and how great they are. I think our district is really great, and it's time for us to invest in our schools, in our students, and in ourselves. I wanted to address a couple of areas that I understand where the money would be going from the mill levy override. One of that is to be able to keep high-quality staff in District 6. I think we have amazing people here, and I've had the chance to work with them in my work with the Success Foundation. They're very passionate, they're very giving. I know they're probably making less, but they're giving more. But you can't ask them to do a job with one arm tied behind their back, and I think in some instances we're asking them to do that. They're going to get discouraged and look at other places. They can go other places and make more money and have more resources, and I think we need to keep them here and give them both of their arms. The other thing is safety. As a parent, it's a huge concern of mine. I can keep my kids safe at home. I can help them with their homework. I can do those things, but I depend on District 6 to keep my kids safe while they're at school. I believe there are tools right now that are needed in our schools that the district simply doesn't have the ability to fund. And safety, again, as any parent I think can tell you, is a huge concern. Transportation, I know a lot of changes were made with transportation, but we're a week into school. My kids are at Winograd, and they told me on the 3rd day of school a bus broke down and there were classmates that were 45 minutes late to school. That's not acceptable. Those kids are not there to learn when they can't get there. So again, I think we need reliable transportation where all kids, I drive my kids to school, but most of our kids don't have that ability, and so we need to get all kids there so that they can learn and be on time every day. And then technology, that is a huge area that the Success Foundation is focused on. We're so grateful to our donors. We're proud of what we've done, and we're excited to see the higher achievement and engagement among students that have access to that innovation. But the fact of the matter is, we're touching such a small piece of what's needed. And it keeps me up at night to know that there's students out there that don't have those tools that are, in fact, available. So I'm a strong believer that education creates a strong community. I'm going to leave you. My daughter, I asked her to write something. She's much more eloquent than I am. I probably should have had her come and speak to you, but I will just leave you with this. This is from her. We are the future, the next generation. We are destined to be great. Our education is the foundation of our success. If we are able to access the tools we need, we will create, invent, solve, heal, and change the world. Please help give us that chance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank your daughter as well. Next speaker is Mr. Scott Warner. Welcome, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dr. Pilch, Board of Education. How we doing tonight? No, thanks for letting me come and speak a little bit here. It's like high school again. Everyone brings their notes, and I just come show up and say, all right, this is how it's gonna. Maybe I gotta learn something.
That's fine.
Yeah. No. So it was interesting. I was involved in the campaign committee last year. Felt compelled to jump onto the fundraising effort this year. I just am here to encourage you all to put another mill levy on the ballot this year. Speaking as a member of our community, a business operator here in Greeley, it's critical. I heard an interesting statistic today. I'd never heard this. District 6 is 168 out of 178 school districts in funding. 168. Our community is growing, our schools are growing, our resources are expanding, the need for resources is expanding, I should say. And you just think about the teachers and the kids who are just trying to learn and make something of themselves and grow up and be contributing members of our community or some other community, and parents who are depending on our system to give their kids that opportunity. I think about my time here in District 6, and it set me up very well to be a contributing member of our society. So once again, our need is growing and our funding is not. One thing I didn't know until I started getting involved in this process is that the tax dollars, they don't go directly to District 6. We pay them every single year, and they don't go directly to District 6 where we live. They get brought back into the storehouse and distributed as is seen fit. And that funding doesn't necessarily come directly back to District 6. I was shocked by that. So whatever we can do to bring those dollars back into our community, we got to do, and that's a mill levy override to start. It'll give our kids the opportunity to have an education, become workforce ready, have the skills they need to really contribute. We need really great teachers. We have them, and we need to keep them here. So how do we hire and retain those people? We have to have the dollars. Unfortunately, you know, I love Greeley. It's a great place to live and work and play, but dollars are important, and our kids need great teachers. I never felt unsafe at school, ever. I went to Montfort, then I went to Brentwood, then I went to John Evans, which isn't there anymore. I was shocked by that. It doesn't even exist. Then I went to Greeley-West. Never felt unsafe. It's surprising to me that that's coming up more and more, that our kids need to become safer at school. So the facilities, our camera systems, our the personnel that are watching over our kids every day when we're not there to do it ourselves. It's just unbelievably critical. Being able, I work at a technology firm, an IT consulting firm, and so technology is critical to how our kids live and work and learn, and I'm really passionate about giving them the tools to do that. I know firsthand technology is not inexpensive, but it's critical. I got about a 16-month-old nephew, and I'm sure he'll be playing around on one of these within a month or two. He already knows how to swipe. So the reality is we just flat need the funding to be able to give them the technology and improve the curriculum. We didn't do it last time around, but I want to stand up as a community member and just encourage you all. Don't be let down by the fact that it didn't go through last time. Let's put it back on the ballot for this year. Give it a whirl. I think if we can put our feet on the street, encourage everyone around us, help them understand that the need is great, and we have the ability to make it happen, that we can get this done. I'll do everything in my power to spread the word. Anyway, that's my piece. Thanks for letting me come up and encourage you all a little bit. And thanks for the work you're doing. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Scott. The next speaker is Mr. Andy Hartshorn.
Hi, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you with respect to placing the mill levy override on the ballot this fall. It's not really in my wheelhouse to be up here, so but I'm a member of the community, and I feel I have a unique perspective to provide with a person with multiple connections to District 6. I've lived in Greeley for the past 17 years, 14 of which I've had the privilege of teaching math at Greeley Central. My wife's also an educator in District 6. She's in her 11th year teaching special ed in currently Salida Soul Academy, and previously in other public schools in District 6. Our children attend Chapello. One's a 4th grader, one's a 2nd grader. And lastly, my mom just retired after 30 years of service in the district as a teacher, administrator, and coach, and she's already been back to volunteer, so she made it 2 days. During my time in Greeley, I've realized that our little town is not really maintaining that status. And I've also noticed there's a pretty big discrepancy between required and available funds, and that discrepancy keeps growing. The impact of the discrepancy are readily available from all my viewpoints as a teacher, as a community member, and as a father. As a teacher, it used to be atypical to have a class at or above 30 students, and now it's becoming atypical to have a class below 30. We have numerous teachers in my building that have more students than chairs and desks. They have more students than calculators, and certainly have more students than computers, which are tremendously outdated at Greeley Central. My current math department at Central is 10 teachers, and our year-long budget is a couple $100. About 100 of that goes to buy toner for our printer each year. The rest buys some dry erase markers. The math is there. I also know that my AP Statistics texts are significantly outdated. They're over 10 years old, and that's a changing science. That's an eternity for a content area that's so heavily dependent on technology. We just don't have the funds to change the realities from the teacher perspective. As a parent, I know firsthand the impact of subpar funding. I know the effect of a fantastic teacher as a parent. I've been blessed because my children have had many at Chapelot. I'm devastated when I find out over and over again that teachers have left because they can't afford to live here. And teachers that my children and other children won't have the privilege of learning from. I know the effect of digital content as I've helped my children at our home, and I'm amazed at the connections they make with the digital content as a result of good software and excellent lesson planning. As a community member, I also know the frustrations that come with changes in policy. For example, I understand why busing was cut, and we just don't have the funds to change those realities right now. The students of District 6 are some of the most diverse and amazing students on this planet, and I believe that to my core, and obviously do too. They deserve every opportunity they have to receive training necessary to be productive members of society. Simply put, we need more funding. The MLO would help accomplish that need. We're definitely headed in the right direction under the guidance of the current administration. We just need more funds to change some realities. Collectively, we are District 6. I'm proud of our accomplishments, and I can't wait to see where we end up. Thank you for your time and your service to the board. I know that it's not always forgiving, and please continue to fight for our kids as you have. They too are District 6, and they deserve it. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Andy. The next speaker is Ms. Elizabeth Dent from West High School.
Hello. I want to start with saying thank you to you also, especially you, Dr. Pilch, who single-handedly, it seems, you have taken our district from a place that at times has been embarrassing to a place that has been acclaimed in the schools, at the district level, in our community, and the state of Colorado. So thank you so much for the work that you have already done. I am in my 22nd year at Greeley-West, and I teach in the IB program at the sophomore and senior level. And in the AVID program, I'm starting with my 4th round of AVID freshmen, who I hope to see through to graduation, and I'm the coordinator of the AVID program at Greeley-West. And I share this with you because that's my vantage point. And I know those students very well when they're in high school and beyond. I follow them through data that AVID provides, and also anecdotally through things like Facebook and running into them in the community. And we as a district and as a school at Greeley-West have prepared our students so well to be successful in college and beyond. Our AVID program just recognized its first doctor from our first graduating class. And so they're successful, but we're preparing them in every way we can, with the exception of technology. And we're from my view, we're setting them up at a disadvantage when they go into these college classrooms because they haven't seen smart classrooms in high school. And when I took my AVID students to UNC to see a lecture, when the teacher used a document camera and her hand went underneath, they got really loud, and it was naughty. But they were floored by being able to see this lady's hand up on the projector. And as we set them up to be completely distracted by the quality of electronics and not know how to use the most current technology, our students, who we as a community hold so dear, they are so precious to us. What are we saying to them if we allow this to continue? We're saying to them, it is okay that you are in 168th place. That's all you're worth. So I would ask that we put this on the ballot and that we work together as a community to help push it through. And I really do think it'll pass this year, as our citizens have seen the detriment this lack of funding has been to our community. Thank you. Again, thank you so much.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Thank you very much. The next speaker is Mr. Randy Watkins.
Good evening. So last year I was presenting financial statements to the City Council of Littleton, and during the public comment section, a guy got up and actually sang his entire message. So here we go.
All right.
Just kidding. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak before the Board of Education and Dr. Pilch. I'm Randy Watkins, a partner at ACM, a local CPA firm here in Greeley. My wife, Nicole, and I are both Greeley natives and also products of the Greeley-Evans School District. Between the two of us, we own or are investors in 5 businesses here in Greeley and have 2 little girls. We are definitely invested in this community. To be perfectly frank, it's embarrassing to us that we live in a community that has the 14th largest school district in the state that's rapidly growing with our community. Student growth apparently has doubled since 2013. Yet we're 168th out of 178 districts in pupil funding. You've all heard that message a few times tonight. And we're the largest community in the state that doesn't have a mill levy override. I mentioned earlier that Nicole and I have kids. To me, that should be reason enough, but as a homeowner and a business owner, we need good school districts to attract and retain talent and to continue to grow as a community. A thriving economy will increase the value of our home and enable us to sell our business. Given the unique and inherent challenges our district faces, many of those have been shared already tonight, I'm impressed at how much the district has been able to do with so little. I think it's time that we give some of the funding they will need to one day become a school district that we as a community can be even more proud of. So I ask you tonight to approve the mill levy override to appear on this fall's ballot. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you very much. The next speaker is Mr. Mike Bond. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you, board members and Dr. Pilch. I know how disappointed you all were when the mill levy failed last year. I know how disappointed the school district families were, and I know how disappointed the business community was. Having been a banker for 30 years, I've had the great fortune of working with and learning from some of the most successful businessmen and women in northern Colorado. And each of them may have their own style, but they all share some common disciplines, and among those are they invest in technology, they invest in their people, and they invest in the safety and security of their capital assets. And they do these things consistently with unwavering discipline. It is simply ingrained in their DNA. But from time to time, they fail. But when they fail, the good ones embrace the discipline with that much more vigor and enthusiasm because they know that failure is a process, not a conclusion. That's why as a businessman, I find myself closely aligned with the board and Dr. Pilch and her team, and your unrelenting efforts to commit to these disciplines. It would have been easier to hide in a corner for a while and lick our wounds, but the needs of our students demand our diligence now more than ever. And the economic vitality of Greeley-Evans demands a robust and flourishing school district, and a well-managed, specific MLO like this one attracts businesses. It doesn't repel them. And yes, there will be opposition again. And yes, we may fail again. And yes, we'll be back again. Because history tells us that endeavors that are rooted in what is fundamentally right are graced with inevitability. So I commend you for your fortitude. I thank you. I encourage you. You've done a great job as a board. It's an exciting time to be in District 6. And I urge you to adopt the language and place the MLO on the ballot. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Bond. The next speaker is Mr. Kenneth Watts, member of DAC and other committees with the district.
Dr. Pilch and the school board, good evening. I need to start taking notes, but Saturday I had the opportunity to attend a town hall with some state representatives and state senators, and everybody was asking questions about health care and immigration, which are very, very important. And my wife punched me in the side because she knew when my hand went up, I was going to mention education. and I looked over at the sheriff and I said, Sheriff Reams, if I neglected my kids at home, you'd probably put handcuffs on me, wouldn't you? He's like, yes. I said, so how about our state? The way they fund our schools, it's neglect. They're neglecting our kids. And of course, he couldn't comment on that, but I did ask a couple of the politicians some questions about it, and I realized how ill-equipped I was to talk to anybody really about school funding. And so, of course, we reached out to Great Ed Colorado, which will be here Tuesday at our Centennial Library at 6 p.m. to go over Colorado school funding. And I just think it's very, very important that everybody knows exactly how horribly our schools are funded, and also know how great our district is doing with those meager funds. We try so hard to reach out to parents and voters and let them know the need of our school. We point to successes, and they're thrilled of the successes. They're amazed at the successes, and they're happy with them. And I'm like, but we can do better, so much better with funding. I happened to be at a school yesterday, and there were kids were getting out for school. I try to be there evening because traffic is so congested there. People parking up on the sides where they shouldn't be parking, and I'm like, you can't park on this side. Well, I got to get my kid, I'm like, we got to pass that MLO, because, some parents are complaining about their kids got to walk further. Some are complaining about how late the bus was. And I said, we got to pass that MLO. Every day I'm out there helping direct traffic, and I'm talking MLO to parents. It's very important that we get the word out to parents about how important it is that we get this bill passed this time. I cannot take another year of seeing Dr. Pilch like I did last year on election night. It hurt me so bad. She cares so much, and she's so heavily vested in our kids and our schools that she cried unconsolably, and we can't let that happen again. Everybody just got to pitch in and do what we got to do to get the word out for our kids and encourage everybody else. People still will talk negatively about our school district, but it's our district, it's our kids, and we have to take ownership and make sure that we get this MLO passed this year. Thank you so much.
Mr. Watts, thank you, sir. The next speaker is Mayor Tom Norton. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, and thank all of you for what you do and your public service that you offer to our community. Sitting back there and listening to all of the other people talk about the same kinds of things that I've spent a year thinking about after the last loss, and the year before that in developing what we would do to try and change the funding formulas. And then I went even further back to 20 years ago when I was in the state legislature, and the kinds of things that I dealt with as Senate President in trying to look at and implement funding formulas and funding programs for schools and universities, higher ed and K-12 education. And then a few years before that, when I was first elected to represent Greeley at the state legislature, and going through the process, I carried the School Finance Act in the early 90s. And the legislature, with my help, screwed it up pretty badly. And I've been determined to fix it ever since. But somehow the legislative process is not equipped to repair those things that we make mistakes on in terms of funding what's important to our growth, our workforce, and our well-being. But we had a formula at one time that really did speak. We did have a change in '92 that did speak to making it better. And then we got an act called Tabor, and it turned the funding upside down. But because of that, all of the growth of Greeley and all of the growth in Weld County and all of the positive businesses that we've had have simply allowed those dollars to go to the general tax income and allow the state to reduce the amount of money that comes to School District 6. And so I'm here to tell you I'm not going to take all the blame. Part of it is Tabor, part of it is Gallagher. We've all been through those of us who've gone into the depths of funding and financing and how it works and how it doesn't work. Have been through those arguments, but I don't think it's been clear that that combination of the School Finance Act that says when taxes are increased, the state has not only the right but the obligation to redistribute those taxes by the School Finance Act to all other schools and not allow, without a mill levy override, those taxes from the local government to go to that local school. So Greeley has, and Greeley-Evans has, with all of the growth and all of the oil and gas and everything that in the recovery that's happened to this community, all of the time that I've been mayor, I've been fortunate for a recovery. School District 6 has been cheated in that they have not gotten any of that growth in money. They've gotten all the growth in students, all the growth in obligation, all the growth in requirements, all the growth in knowing what new technology could do with none of the resources to do it. So I plead with you to tell that story. I've also been in politics long enough to know that facts seldom affect the outcome of a vote. So get up on the table and beat the hell out of it. Make it happen through your dedication to what really counts, and that is getting the community behind it. I worked hard the last 3 or 4 years with the STEM program at Northridge, with going to the schools and seeing for myself what I could see, the lack of resources and the dedication of teachers. It is there. I'm convinced that it's there, and we've just not been able to balance the books with the kind of system that we're working under. If we were to get a bill levy override, we could finance our schools. We could have 3 or 4 times as much money as this mill levy override is asking for. Had we done one way back in '09 when we started this process, it would have made our life so much easier. So I implore you, tell the story. be sure and tell the facts the best you can, but be very dominant in your ask, in your request to pass a mill levy override. And please, put it out there and let us do our work one more time. And if not this time, one more time. But damn it, we got to get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it. The next speaker is Dr. Stephen Sadorf. Welcome.
Good evening, and thank you to the Greeley-Evans District 6 Board of Education and Dr. Pilch for allowing us to speak tonight. I'm Dr. Seedorf, principal of Frontier Academy Secondary School, and I'm here tonight to speak in support of the mill levy override. I have been encouraged by many things over the past few years, such as the strengthening relationships between traditional Greeley schools and charters, the expansion of types of programs offered in the area to meet a wide variety of student needs, and especially the increase in academic achievement. These accomplishments should be noted and celebrated. At the same time, we need to acknowledge that there are many areas still in need of improvement. Dr. Pilch and her team have done a fine job identifying the areas of need in the district, and those needs happen to line up very similarly with the needs of charter schools. We need a more competitive method of recruiting and retaining highly qualified teachers. We need up-to-date curriculum that meets the needs of 21st century learners in a digital age and the technology to support it. We also need to be mindful of our aging facilities and not to get further behind in routine maintenance and repair. I encourage the board to vote in favor tonight of putting the mill levy override on the ballot, and then for our citizens of our town to support the measure in November so that our students can get the education they deserve. In addition to what I have prepared tonight, I just want to say specifically, whatever we need to get this done, please contact me directly and I will help out with whatever you need. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for your partnership, Dr. Seedorf. Appreciate it. Well, thanks to all of those who presented their opinions about the mill levy override. We move on to the next item on the agenda, and that's the work session report. Ms. Crane, might you share that with us, please?
Board of Education President Roger DeWitt began the work session with comments and updates from each board member. Mr. DeWitt then proceeded to review the calendar of upcoming events. Superintendent Dr. Deirdre Pilch led a discussion with the board members about upcoming topics for information, discussion, and action. Dr. Pilch and the board members reviewed the ballot language that will come before the board for action during the business meeting, and that concluded the work session.
Thank you, ma'am. Remember, I kind of set a fire of enthusiasm for us to listen to Dr. Pilch's presentation, so I know she's got something special to say, and it will include the item I was referring to. Dr. Pilch, your report, please.
Thank you, Mr. DeWitt. Well, I better start with the exciting news first, right? Which was that last week was the first week of school, and we had a great opening to school, and I'll come back to that. So I think what you are referencing, Mr. DeWitt, is that we received news late last week of preliminary reports on our school performance frameworks. This is the ranking system that the Colorado Department of Education board and staff use per state legislation to actually rank schools and school districts, and we get a score at every single school. And so the good news is that we in District 6, for the first time in the 7 years of data that I have had in front of me, we do not have a single school that will be on turnaround status. Not a single one. These preliminary reports also indicate lots of other places for celebration, and indeed some significant places where we still need to do some very dramatic work, and we are dedicated to doing that work. And we're going to keep doing that work every single day to make sure that our students have what they need. I want to call out just a couple of schools especially. So Franklin Middle School has been one of our schools that has been on turnaround within the past 7 years, and they've been on priority improvement most recently. And we came forward last spring with a plan for them to move to a school of innovation, and really with a full restructuring plan for that school. And their school performance, their preliminary ranking is to move them to a school of performance, which is the highest ranking that a school can receive. So we're very proud of Franklin Middle School for that movement. And then I want to also recognize Prairie Heights Middle School. Although they did not move out of priority improvement, they made significant gains in student growth, and they're most definitely headed in the right direction, as well as our other priority improvement schools. And Salida del Sol, one of our district charter schools was in turnaround status last year, and they have moved to improvement. So we're really excited about that. And there'll be more information to come as those results are finalized. And then there's a few of the schools that we will submit some requests to reconsider. It's a little complex at the elementary as they score elementaries because we don't have any statewide data for kindergarten and first and second grade. We have a whole 3 grade levels of students there across the state of Colorado that are not being considered in these school performance frameworks. And so we're able as a school district to provide additional data in those grades, which I think will have a result on some of the other rankings at the elementary level in a positive way. So we're excited about those results, and I don't think the state is going to officially release them until later this week, and then we'll be able to talk about them even more publicly at that point. I want to now go back to some of my other comments, if I may. I referenced that it was the first week of school last week, and we welcomed over 22,000 students here in District 6. We are growing still. We're growing at a rate of about 3% annually, so we're very excited to be a growing school district. And unfortunately, we have some class sizes that are pretty large, and we did squeak out some more FTE, and we're hoping it's all going to work out like it should, but we had some classes, particularly at first grade, that were over 30 a class, and that's just not acceptable. So we did add a few, 3 new positions at the end of last week at the elementary level to bring some class sizes down. 2 teachers at Meeker Elementary, 1 at Martinez in 4th grade, which of course is one of our priority improvement schools. Oh, and the 4th one at Shawsheen Elementary. So growing is good, and in some places we grew more than expected, and we were working to try to lower those class sizes. The other thing I want to mention about the first week of school is we realized that we have created significant additional traffic by decreasing our transportation services at the elementary and middle school and high school level. And for any community members or any staff, any of you all who are out and about during those school opening and closing times, you see the trouble we have created. And I feel badly about that. I mean, that, you know, we knew that it would be an impact on our community, and yet we had to make some decisions. We simply could not continue to offer transportation services and then fail to deliver on those services because of our inability to fill positions and to have enough equipment. So we know we've created a hardship out there, and we're working as best we can with families to help families with safe routes to school and walking kids to and from school in groups, with groups of students and parents helping to do that. And it is our promise that if you do choose to put a mill levy override on the ballot tonight, and if we pass that mill levy override, we will work to reinstate that elementary transportation just as soon as we can get those bus drivers hired and get those routes reconfigured. So I wanted to mention that. Also, on the first day of school, we had eclipse viewing at all of our sites, every district site. And I have to tell you, you know, kids were doing scientific experiences the first day, scientific experiments and research that first day of school. It was really impressive to see, and very exciting that our children in all grade levels had an opportunity to do that throughout the school district. And I want to commend the staff who made that happen. I had nothing to do with it, although someone thanked me for it today. I had nothing to do with it other than to say, yes, I think that is a great idea. But it was actually our staff who put together some lesson plans for teachers, got that out to teachers, and then our staff who worked to be able to secure those glasses at a very costly price, you know, a cost-efficient price for us, so that we could actually afford for every student, every staff member to have safe viewing of the eclipse. So kudos to the staff for making that happen. And then this next week, I will be starting a leadership advisory council, and you all have heard me talk about before the importance of having these advisory councils to inform my work as superintendent. And so last year, late in the spring, we started a teacher advisory council where a teacher from every building, they come and they meet with me once a month and advise me on district initiatives. This week, we'll start that with some of our district level leadership as well. So they had to apply to be a part of it, and then the district leadership team voted to determine who they wanted to represent them on the Leadership Advisory Council. So more on that to come, and I'll keep you informed on how that goes. I wanted to also share that today at the Chamber of Commerce chamber board meeting. So I'm privileged to be on the chamber board. And today at that chamber board meeting, the chamber board did unanimously support the mill levy override ballot measure, should you go forward with approval tonight. So I think that's a huge shout out to us that the chamber board has endorsed us and has agreed to actively support us with a mill levy override. And then finally, I will just close with a little comment about our speakers tonight. I'm pretty overwhelmed. You know, I think there might be a lot more determination in this room than even that is brought by your superintendent of schools. I listen to the speakers and how determined they are to really make this happen for our students in our community. I think that's remarkable. And I have to say, I heard several speakers mention and give credit to the superintendent, to me, and I want to humbly recognize that I only do what I do at the pleasure of this Board of Education, and it is because of the tremendous support and advice and wisdom that I am privileged to have on a regular basis from this elected Board of Education that I'm able to lead in the way that I do as superintendent of schools, and that's why we're here today, and I need to give the board the recognition of that. And then my colleagues who serve with me on my cabinet, who are here at every board meeting, who you rarely see on camera, but they are the ones who are tapping me on the shoulder and saying, Dr. Pilch, don't forget. Now, Deirdre, what about? Now, Deirdre, I don't think that's such a good idea, and maybe you should only share this much about the school performance frameworks since they're not public yet. But I get to do what I do because of the support of this board and this amazing staff that we've been able to really put together over the last 2 years. And then finally, this community and the community who, only a few of whom you heard from tonight, and their support of this school district and their deep, deep love and understanding of the importance of doing everything we can for the youth in this community, because the youth are the future. So for me, it's a perfect combination that has come together that allows me to serve as your superintendent of schools. And as we start a new school year, you know, I'm ready to go. So let's get started. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Well, we are going to get going now. Let's see here. We need to approve the agenda. That's an action item, and I'd be glad to receive a motion from someone at this time.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approve the agenda as presented.
Second. Second. Okay. Thanks, Terry. Comments, questions? Roll call, Ms. Green.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Haefele?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Ms. Pappas?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Next item is the consent agenda, and it's an action item. I'd be glad to receive a motion.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approves items as presented on the consent agenda and authorize the officers to sign any and all contracts.
Second.
Ms. Solis. Comments, discussion? Roll call, Ms. Crane?
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Haefele?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Ms. Pappas?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Well, it is next on our list, the adoption of mill levy and ballot language. This resolution to which we have heard a lot of support and comments. This is an item that requires a motion before we begin chatting about it.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 adopts the resolution for the mill levy and ballot language as presented.
Second.
Thank you both. Well, in order to get some discussion about this, it's appropriate at this time to go ahead and read through this language. And so sit back and get some popcorn because we do want to be as clear and open with the terminology and the official language here. So I'll ask Mr. Lydiak, if you don't mind reading the mill levy and ballot language resolution, please.
Yes, Mr. DeWitt, I will gladly begin, and I'm glad I get to share this lengthy resolution with Mr. Haefele as well.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
So the mill levy and ballot language resolution is, whereas the Weld County School District 6 in the county of Weld and the state of Colorado is a public corporation duly organized and existing under the Constitution and the laws of the state of Colorado, and whereas the members of the Board of Education of the district, the board, have been duly elected, chosen, and qualified, and whereas Article 10, Section 20 of the Colorado Constitution, known as Tabor, requires voter approval for any new tax, the creation of any debt, and for spending certain monies above limits established by Tabor, and whereas the board has determined that the interest of the district and the public interest and necessity demand and require that the district seek voter approval for a tax increase for district purposes as described in Section 4 below to provide additional funds for the district's general operating expenses pursuant to Section 2254-108 Colorado Revised Statutes. And whereas the board has determined that the total additional local property tax revenues generated by the tax increases does not exceed 25% of the district's total program in compliance with Section 2254-108 of the Colorado Revised Statutes. And whereas Tabor requires the district to submit ballot issues as defined in Tabor to the district's electors on limited election days before action can be taken on such ballot issues. And whereas November 7th, 2017 is one of those election dates at which ballot issues may be submitted to the eligible electors of the district pursuant to Tabor. And whereas the county clerk and recorder in Weld County will conduct the election on November 7th, 2017 as a coordinated election. And whereas it is necessary to submit to the eligible electors of the district at the election the proposition of increasing district taxes in excess of the district's total program funding as determined pursuant to the School Finance Act, Title 22, Article 54, Part 1 of the Colorado Revised Statutes. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 in the County of Weld and the State of Colorado, Section 1, all action heretofore taken, not inconsistent with the provisions of this resolution by this district and the officers thereof, directed towards the election and objects of and purposes herein stated are ratified, approved, and confirmed. Unless otherwise defined herein, all terms used herein shall have the meaning specified in Section 1.1.104 of the Colorado Revised Statute. Section 2, the election shall be conducted as a coordinated election in the county pursuant to Tabor Article 54 of Title 2 CRS, Colorado Revised Statutes, and the Uniform Election Code of 1992, and all laws amendatory thereof and supplemental thereto. The district hereby determines that the election shall be held on November 7th, 2017, and that there shall be submitted to the eligible electors of the district the questions set forth herein. Because the election will be held as part of the coordinated election, the board hereby determines that the county clerk shall conduct the election on behalf of the district pursuant to the Uniform Election Code of 1992. Section 3, the board hereby authorizes and directs the officers of the district to certify to the county clerk on or before September 8th, 2017, the following question in substantially the form hereinafter set forth. Such question shall be submitted to the eligible electors of the district at the election.
2017 mill levy override question, ballot issue number. Shall Weld County School District 6 taxes be increased by $14 million in 2017 for collection in 2018 and by such amounts generated annually thereafter through 2023 for collection in 2024, when the tax will sunset by a mill levy of up to 10 mills to be expended for educational purposes as approved by the Board of Education and monitored by the Citizens Oversight Committee, which include improving safety, security, and transportation, supporting academic and vocational grants to graduate career-ready students, providing up-to-date instructional materials and technology to support every learner, attracting and maintaining a competitive workforce, allocating mill levy override revenues based on student count to district charter schools authorized as of July 1st, 2017, and shall such increase be additional property tax mill levy in excess of the levies the district is otherwise authorized by law to impose, and shall the district be authorized to collect, retain, and spend all revenues from such taxes and the earnings from the investment of such revenues as a voter-approved revenue change and an exception to the limits that otherwise apply under Article 10, Section 20 of the Colorado Constitution. Section 4, if a majority of the votes cast on the question to authorize the levy of ad valorem property taxes submitted at the election shall be in favor of levying ad valorem property taxes as provided in such question, the district acting through the board shall be authorized to proceed with the necessary action to levy ad valorem property taxes in accordance with such question. Any authority to levy ad valorem property taxes, if conferred by the results of the election, shall be deemed and considered a continuing authority to levy the ad valorem taxes so authorized at any one time or from time to time, and neither the partial exercise of the authority so conferred nor any lapse of time shall be considered as exhausting or limiting the full authority so conferred. Section 5, pursuant Section 111-2035 Colorado Revised Statute, any election contest arising out of a ballot issue or ballot question election concerning the order of the ballot or the form or content of the ballot title should be commenced by petition filed with the proper court within 5 days after the title of the ballot issue or ballot question is set. Section 6, the officers of the district are authorized and directed to take all action necessary or appropriate to effectuate the provisions of the resolution. Section 7, all orders, bylaws, and resolutions of parts thereof in conflict with this resolution are hereby repealed. Section 8, if any section, paragraph, clause, or provision of this resolution shall for any reason be held to be invalid or unenforceable, or invalidity or unenforceability of such section, paragraph, clause, or provision shall not affect any of the remaining provisions of the resolution. Adopted and approved this August 28, 2017.
Thank you both for the reading. Certainly appreciate that it's in the record now. I'm delighted to hear opinions from board members. It's an open discussion on this important topic. Ms. Solis.
So, as a candidate, when I was initially running for school board, I had numerous conversations with community members. I had conversations with people that were in the district, people that were outside of the district, people that had children in the district, and there was a lot of concern that we weren't going in the right direction. When I got on the school board, one of the things that we decided, that I worked with a lot of other board members, was that now was the time to show courage. We needed to shift the boat. We were going in a direction that was hurting and becoming toxic to not only community members, but people that worked within our district. And it was difficult. It was really difficult. But I knew it was the right thing to do. And although I had community members question me, I had community members say some really rude things to me, I knew in my heart it was the right thing to do. And as long as I stood to that conviction, things would work out all right. So we did the change. And one of the biggest things I heard in our district was, we don't trust the district. We don't trust sometimes as employees, we don't trust as community members, we don't trust as parents. I took that very literal. So when it came to the search for looking for a new superintendent, we made sure that we were open and honest, transparent, and inclusive. And here as a board member, I can tell you, I am so proud of Dr. Pilch But I can't take all that credit. It was community members. We brought her here. We chose her. She's part of our district because we worked together as a community to do that change. And now I've seen all the things that she's done in the short amount of time that she's been here. And some of the things we took to task for her were to make sure that we're inclusive to community, to rebuild those bridges and partnerships that we had heard had disappeared. We talked to her about relationships. We talked to her about culture. And we got consensus training, which really improved the culture between our employees. We talked to her about some of the people that said, you know, we're a little top heavy when it comes to administration. She went in there, did a review, cut some positions, tried to make it a lot smoother and easier, and put people in positions doing almost twice as much as they were doing before. We're working our employees very hard, and we ask a lot of our teachers. We ask a lot of our staff. We ask a lot of everyone that's in the school buildings. And we also gave her another task. We said, you need to go in. We want fresh eyes looking at all the programs, evaluate them. Do we keep them? Do we improve them? Do we get rid of them? And the other task was this, our Innovation 2020. We want a plan that talks about our mission, our vision, our values, and we want to make sure that it's a living document, that when we walk into a school, it's not something that's on the shelf, but we live and we know this every single day. I can give you bullet points as to why we need all of these things in the mill levy, but one of the biggest things I heard is that we didn't trust the district. We took the courage, we've done the work, and we are here to say that all the work that we've done is the same work that we will do with this money from the mill levy. Trust us, have the courage to stand up for this and vote for our kids, vote for our staff, vote for all the people that work so hard in all of our schools when the challenges seem almost overwhelming at times. Now is the time to come together as a community and really show that we care about kids. We believe in them. We know that they can do it, and we're going to give them the tools to make sure that they're successful and that they leave this district either career ready or ready to attend a college. We've done this work for almost 4 years now, and we're committed to bringing this forward. I'm happy to support this and to tell you I will do everything in my power to continue the work that we've already been doing over these last 4 years, to make sure that there's oversight, that we're transparent, that we're taking care of kiddos, that we're taking care of staff, and we're making our decisions all around this Innovation 2020 plan. This is what we live by now. So we invite you, community members, to partake in this district in a financial way and show these kids how much we care about them and how important their success is to us as community members. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Solis. Mr. Hall.
Well, I think Ms. Solis copied my deal. But, so 4 years ago when we started, and while we were candidates for the election, there were many things that were said to us. If you're elected, you need to do this. If you're elected, you don't want to do this. Da-da-da-da-da. Well, some of those things, some of us here are old enough to remember a television show called Dragnet, where the chief officer said, just the facts, just the facts. So some of the facts are, why don't you guys develop a plan? We have no idea. It looks so scatterbrained. Right there's the plan. Rhonda just showed it to you. Vision 2020, it's on paper. It's in everybody's folder. That is the roadmap of D6. But it's a roadmap that is auditable, it is attainable, it is in black and white for everybody to see. The community said you need to improve culture. Man, everybody hates it there. Well, we've heard the things regarding the improvement in culture that have been phenomenal. And we give that, I give 100% of the credit to Dr. Pilch and her staff and the vision to do that. Another thing that was said was that you guys don't talk to anybody in the community. You have no partnerships. What are you doing? And you got so many admin people you need. We could run 3 million General Motors if that was what it was. Trust me, I heard that as well. Efficiencies were gathered. Restructuring was done. It was not easy. It was painful in many cases. And it continues to happen. Lots of new faces around, but it's a new culture. It's a new way. People continually say, I look forward to going to work. Doesn't matter whether they're admin or in the schools. You need to scrub the budget and make it efficient because there's just so much waste. Well, I have challenged many people that said that to come in the last 2 years and find that waste. Nobody's taken me up on it. You got to stop the outflow of students. Everybody's wanting to go somewhere else to get educated. Well, we have grown at the rate of 3% in the last 2, and I think 2% the third year back. So just to put that in context, we had 22,000 plus students this year. So that equates to 660 new faces, which is the equivalent of a whole new entire school anywhere else in this state, just about. That's what it equates to, 660 students. It's a new school. So we had to increase opportunities. We wanted to increase opportunities. We got early college, high school, building trades program, STEM, STEAM, AVID, IB. Zero dropouts, bringing kids back in and helping them get there. Making them career ready, college ready. That's what the business community in Greeley said. And in case you haven't looked around at Greeley, Greeley is a new city today. It's vibrant, it's bubbly, it's effervescent, it's new. It's becoming, it's evolving into a growth that inspires hope for the residents and for the children herein. People wanted their kids safe. And unfortunately, we had a speaker earlier tonight that said when he went to school, he never had to worry about being safe. We have to worry about that today, and through the administration and our security team, we've been working on that very diligently, and we're making dramatic headway. If you want an MLO, you got to do these 3 things. Actually 4 after last year. We want it to sunset. Well, this sunsets 7 years. You don't like it, don't re-up it. If it doesn't produce the results and it's not managed the way we say it's going to be, don't re-up it. Make it specific and not a slush fund. Well, it's about as specific as you can get with any legalese. There's no loopholes. It's specific, it's designated. Be accountable in your spending. I don't know how we're going to keep you accountable in your spending. Well, there's a Citizens Oversight Committee that is listed in the ballot language. We can't violate that ballot language if it's passed, even if we wanted to. We need a community that doesn't necessarily, or doesn't just want to attract new people, but we need, if we have a community that inspires kids to go off and come back and take over and start new businesses because they're here, then new businesses will come, new development will come. Our kids deserve everything that a kid in Boulder Valley can get. Or Fort Collins, or Fort Morgan. They all deserve it. This community deserves to have those type of young citizenry coming out of the schools. So because of the way this is structured and because of the dramatic need and because this community is on the verge of just, I wanted to say greatness, but I don't know what it is yet. It's growing so fast, so quickly, and evolving through various things with city government, business, home development, list could go on and on. I don't know what that means. But we owe it to our kids to give them every opportunity, and we owe it to you as the voters to be as accountable as you need it to be, to assure you that your tax dollars are spent wisely. I don't know how else we could do it. I don't know how else we could be more specific. So it's because of this and all of those things mentioned before, and I'm sorry for getting windy, but as anyone that knows me, they know that I'm not a tax guy. I'm a Federalist paper guy. But there's times, I'm also a businessman, and you've got to invest. You invest in your community, but more importantly, you have to invest in the next generation, or the city goes away. So for those reasons and many more, I'll be supporting this initiative wholeheartedly. I'll be knocking on your doors. I'll be passing out stuff, which is really hard for me in this. But it's not about anything but the kids. That's all this is. It's about the kids and about what Greeley can be. Not what she is, not what she was, but what she can be. So thank you, Roger, for the time, and I'll yield back the balance.
Thank you very much, the gentleman from Kentucky. Thanks, Mr. Hall. Dr. Richard.
Well, we heard from teacher Elizabeth Dent something that she said about how we hold our kids dear. And I think that's true for any of us that have been in education, that is a moral calling that we have when we go into education. But I also think it speaks volumes about who we are as a community. And I'll take up on Steve's theme of what this mill levy override means and says about us as a community as well. I've always said that it's not that we don't know what to do to help our students, but it's that we don't have the resources to do the things we know that we need to be doing. And this is an opportunity to provide our educators with some of those resources. You know, I have to go back to some of the numbers that were put out there by Scott Warner and Randy Watkins, and I think Mayor Norton mentioned them too. We're the 14th largest school district, and we're the 168th in funding. And it's just what Mayor Norton said. That amount of funding that is provided by the state is determined by the state. So even if our taxes go up here, they will pull back at the state level. It doesn't change. So the only way we take local control for our children, for our students, is to pass a mill levy override that gives us the opportunity to have those dollars here to spend them on our students and our students' needs. And so our speakers were right. We can't wait. We have to invest in our students now. I would suggest that we would be irresponsible as a Board of Education not to move forward and allow the community to vote on something that will work on behalf of our students and give us a strong, successful workforce, as well as a statement about who we are and what we value as a community.
Thanks, Dr. Richard. Ms. Pappas.
So I just would like to thank all of you for the comments that you've already said, and I totally agree with all of you. And while I haven't been on the board for the 4 years, I have been on the board for 2 years. And I have been an active part of the campaign committees for the MLO. And what I would tell you, I'm a little overwhelmed myself by the people tonight. And I guess I just want to read a quote from Margaret Mead that says, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." And that's what you've seen tonight. So that's all I can say, except that thank you to everyone for the work that you've done, the work that you will do, because this will be work. But I am absolutely committed to this, and will, again, like Rhonda said, I am absolutely committed to knocking on doors like Steve, and I actually enjoy that. And I am hoping that our community members will join us in that endeavor. I'm hoping that all of our staff members will join us. It's going to take all of us to share information with our community, to let them know how important this is for our kids. And so, again, never believe that a few caring people can't change the world, for indeed, that's all who ever have. And I want to put out a special thank you for our mayor, Tom Norton. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is that Mr. Hafley? Yes, sir.
Steve Hall reduced me to tears, which I really appreciate, because his passion is always something that you never worry about where he stands, because he's always willing to tell you. And I appreciate his passion for our students. And one of the things that has happened over the course of the last 4 years is that we've run to the fight every single day, because the people we fought for were our students. And I look around the Board of Education and Dr. Pilch and the administration, and there are people here that I hold in the highest integrity humanly possible. And I believe in what they do and how much they care about our students. And it's our responsibility as a board to continue to run to the fight. So I look forward to working with this board and the administration and Dr. Pilch and making sure this MLO passes.
Mr. Lydiak.
Well, I'd be amiss not to say that I too have been moved by our community members and our charter leadership, charter schools leadership, and also my fellow board members. I'm very impressed by Ms. Solis and Mr. Hall's presentation, our discussion of this mill levy, and I guess all I want to add is that three things, and I think everyone kind of ended with this, and that is, it's for the kids, it's about the kids, and bottom line, we owe it to the kids, and that's my sentiment.
Thank you, Mr. Lydiak. It comes to the seventh person on the board to say something. I want to point out a couple of things that haven't necessarily come up in this kind of review of the past year or two, and anticipation of better days for the school district, better funding, and better released to serve our students. One of those things is we've gone through really dark times in the past, and a couple of board members in this group faced those really dark times down, and colossally brave in doing so. Previous boards took on assignments that led to successes and failures, but none of us are working for a salary here. This is an unpaid elected board trying to make the best decisions we can for our students. And certainly, as has been indicated by folks who've been speaking tonight, our kids work no less hard, they deserve no less support, and yet their zip code defines the amount of money they receive and the sort of benefits that they are available to receive. And this is an entirely unacceptable and unfair situation for those of us on the board. We realize that that's kind of a crazy thing, and maybe we really need to work on this mill levy override if the mood of the community is strong, to right size the amount of money that our students are able to receive because it's right. And then to be continued in this deep and philosophic bent would probably be appropriate, but I'd rather have you think about the game Monopoly. Mm-hmm. And you can think, if you want to, it's not going to do you any good, but you can think about free parking. It's always my favorite spot on the board. We also know about, go to jail. And, fire services are provided by the community. Police services are provided by the community. And do you remember that one card that you pick up, and it's the school taxes card? Remember that? It's not like this is just a brand new invention, that in this year, 2017, we've come up with this crazy idea of asking the community to support their kids in school. It's as American as Monopoly. And so our challenge isn't to determine whether it's the right thing to do, but it's indeed to vote on this and to set all hands to moving this action forward. And so with respect, I'll be glad to ask you to do a roll call. Ms. Crane, please.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Hafley?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Ms. Pappas?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Let's take a deep breath. We're just taking on a big mission. Okay. We're gonna do that. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us this evening and speaking in solidarity to this action. Now back to some board priorities. Remember when we were doing some spring house cleaning and trying to get rid of some old policies and bring in some new policies? Well, it's here still. The revisions to policy GBEA, open hiring, equal employment opportunity. This is an action item, and I'd be glad to accept a motion at this time.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approves the revisions to policy GBEA, open hiring, equal employment opportunity as presented.
Second.
Thank you both. Comments? Dr. Pilch, do you want to just highlight this for us? We've seen the materials associated with this.
It's a pretty simple revision of an existing policy, and as you said, you've seen the materials. There's additional legal references in here, and then the addition of that as employers, we're not allowed to ask for genetic information.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Ms. Crane.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Hafley?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Ms. Pappas?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, ma'am. The next item is revisions to policy GBEA, staff ethics, conflict of interest. This is an action item also and requires a motion.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approves the revisions to policy GBEA, staff ethics and conflict of interest as presented.
Second.
Thank you both. Dr. Pilch?
Again,
Conflict of interest items.
Thank you, Mr. DeWitt. Again, some slight revisions here, but primarily required as a result of some previously adopted policy that you all considered in the spring. I'll just say it is the staff ethics and conflict of interest policy, and much of this we already practice, but to have it actually codified in policy is extremely important. And I have never worked with such an ethical team as what I work with here at District 6, and I know they're fine having it in policy because they're doing this already.
Thank you, ma'am. Other comments other than the material you've already had the chance to read? Roll call, Ms. Crane.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Hafley?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Ms. Pappas?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. The next item is the revisions to policy GBEB, staff conduct and responsibilities. Dr. Bill, oh, did I miss something?
No, I was just going to read your
Oh,
motion.
okay. I was just going to grab one of those moments.
Okay.
How about that motion, Mr. Hall?
Can I grab it?
Grab that motion.
Okay. I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approves the revisions to policy GBEB, staff conduct and responsibilities as presented.
Second.
That's a duet. I like that. Thank you both. Dr. Pilch, a little detail.
This again is a revision of existing policy. Much of the revision here is in relation to the legal references, and they tie back to the Claire Davis Act, which we've spoken about before. Also, we're deleting the language around having hard copies of policy manuals at every work site, as everything is electronic now.
I don't think we can argue about that. Roll call. Ms. Crane.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Hafley?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Ms. Pappas?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
The next item is a second read and adopting of policy ECAF, the use of video and audio monitoring. This is also an action item that requires a motion.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approves the adoption of policy ECAF, use of video and audio monitoring as presented.
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Pilch.
So this is a new policy that came as a part of the Claire Davis Act also, but I just want to reference it because it's actually a policy that allows us to use video and other surveillance to monitor students and staff. And we don't have security cameras at our high schools or at our middle schools, except for our newest middle school, Prairie Heights Middle School. And interestingly enough, this policy came out of legislation from our legislators, basically saying that schools have the right to use video and audio surveillance to ensure greater safety of students. And we have policy basically saying we should be doing that, and yet we don't have those devices at our schools. And so I want to just say that is a big piece of the mill levy override over the first few years, is to make sure we get security cameras installed at each of our secondary buildings.
Well, I'm glad this policy is no longer going to hold us back.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Other comments or questions? Thanks for that clarification. Roll call. Ms. Crane.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Hafley?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Ms. Pappas?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. The next item is the second reading adoption of policy GCKAA, the teacher displacement. This is an action item that requires a motion.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 repeals policy GCOA, evaluation of instructional staff, and GCOC, evaluation of administrative staff, as presented.
Wait, is that the
I'm not
same?
reading the same
I don't see that
thing
Okay.
you
Next one
are.
up.
Oh, you're one ahead.
You may be advanced.
There's a touch screen for you.
Dr. Richard is advanced.
Okay.
It's advanced.
Hey, there we go.
Just needs to drag the rest of us along with her. You want to try that again?
No, I apologize. I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approve the adoption of policy GCKAA, teacher displacement, as presented.
Second.
Well, you just wanted to make sure we were paying attention.
There you go.
I think you've
You're
proven
listening.
that
You're
we were
listening.
alert.
I think
Definitely.
those two conspired.
So, Dr. Pilch, help us with this teacher displacement.
I will. Thank you. So this is a second read of a new policy. I just want to make you all aware that this is a piece of the work that came out of House Bill 190 or Senate Bill 191 around the teacher effectiveness. And we are taking a pretty aggressive approach to this because we are so invested in ensuring that we have quality teachers in our classrooms for students. And so we are not a district that is moving teachers around who are ineffective. We are a district that that if a teacher is displaced and that teacher does not secure placement in another building because of their lack of effectiveness or their lack of fit, we are not promising them a position. And that's really what this is about. And I know it sounds a little harsh, but at the end of the day, what this policy really does is enforces that we mean it when we say we're going to have the best teachers possible in our classrooms with our students. And we are on the leading edge of this in the state of Colorado. And staff was doing this work before I got here. I did not do this. They were working in this direction before I arrived, and I'm proud of the courage that we're showing by implementing this policy.
Other comments, questions? Let's have a roll call. Ms. Crane.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Havely?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Ms. Pappas?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much. The next and last item on this agenda is the second read and repeal of personnel policies.
I move that the board.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead
Oh,
with
were
your
you
motion.
asking for a motion?
I didn't need to. Go right ahead.
We're all in a hurry apparently to end this board meeting. I move that the Board of Education of Wilton County School District 6 repeals policy GCOA, evaluation of instructional staff, and GCOC, evaluation of administrative staff as presented.
Second.
Thank you both. Dr. Pilch.
Thank you, Mr. DeWitt. So you're going to hear a common theme here. The repeal of these policies is a result of a new policy that you all have already adopted around the evaluation of instructional and administrative staff. And again, those new policies are in place because of our determination to ensure that we have the highest quality administrators and teachers working with our students.
Comments or questions? Seeing none. Roll call. Ms. Crane.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Havely?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Ms. Pappas?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Well, this completes our meeting this evening. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much.